Hey everybody, thanks for checking out this week's episode of My First Sketch at myfirstsketch.com. I'm Josh Hyam. As always, feel free to subscribe to the show on iTunes or on SoundCloud to get it automatically. You can catch the show on the Stitcher app as well, and I've also been uploading them on YouTube if you enjoy watching audio podcasts on YouTube. You can like the podcast on Facebook at facebook.com/myfirstsketch. You can email me at josh@myfirstsketch.com. and follow me on Twitter at myfirstsketch. Have I told you recently that My First Sketch will be doing a live show on Sunday, July 23rd as part of Philly Podfest? It's an afternoon show, 4:30 p.m. at Philly Improv Theater's second stage. Tickets are available at myfirstsketch.com/July23. Please come because my guests will be the incredible shrinking Matt and Jacquie. One by one, I'm going through the former members of my old sketch group, the Judo Range. Actually, I don't remember if it was ever the Judo Range or just Judo Range. And this is the next in that series. So today's guest is Mike DiEva, formerly one of my castmates and writing partners in Judo Range. The sketch he brought with him is called There Is a Light That Never Goes Out, because sketch comedy needs references of the Smiths, and it was written to be filmed. Brian Durkin plays Dez, an anthropomorphic, incandescent light bulb. Mike DiEva plays Madison, a little girl playing on the swings, and I give all the visual information and then do cameos as Syphil, one of those fancy corkscrewy light bulbs, and Barry, who was a moth. So let's get to the sketch. Exterior playground day. Extreme wide shot of an average suburban playground on an overcast autumn day. Slides, monkey bars, wood chips, and a low chain link fence. Only a handful of children play on the equipment, and they're relatively quiet, at least as far as children go. Dez leans against a swing set with his arms folded across his chest, looking forlorn. He holds a lit cigarette and a messenger bag rests at his feet. Madison is sitting on a swing immediately next to him, trying to get her momentum. He thinks for a moment before he begins speaking.
So, Kate broke up with me again. I came home drunk, and she just went off on me. I don't think it's even worth trying to fix it this time.
Madison looks up at him. He continues staring at the ground. Shh.
Like you said last time, we've done the off-again thing enough. I've wasted too much time as it is. I'm not gonna live forever, Madison,
Madison extends both legs directly in front of her and begins making the small kicking motions with her ankles.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately. My father burned out early, and my mom's starting to buzz a little bit herself.
Dez takes a drag from his cigarette, making sure to blow the smoke away from the children. Madison begins rocking back and forth again.
Can you push me, please?
Yeah, sure. You've helped me with so much of my shit, least I can do.
Dez sticks the cigarette in his mouth and walks around to the back of the swing set. He begins to push the swing, still lost in his own thoughts.
Okay, so she's not the one or whatever. I still want to settle down eventually, Have a couple night lights of my own someday. Maybe not right now, but soon. Clock's ticking, man.
Dez stops pushing, and Madison continues to swing under her own power.
Thank you.
No problem. I'm just glad I have someone to talk to about this. Want a beer?
Do you have a juice box?
Sorry, dude.
He pulls a can of beer out of his bag and cracks it open. He takes a sip and continues his train of thought.
Even if I don't burn out, they're just gonna stop making us anyway. No one wants old Sparky anymore. It's all this fancy-ass green bullshit. I don't know what the big screaming deal is. Cliffle's got mercury all over the damn place. Way to be environmentally friendly, douche.
My teacher says we gotta help the earth.
Oh, yeah? How many brothers do you have again?
This many.
Thought so. If you really want to help the earth, tell your dad to get neutered.
What's neutered?
Dez squints into the distance and takes another drag from his cigarette.
Okay, have you ever seen your daddy's... Oh, come on.
He throws his head back in frustration. Cut to a medium shot of Syphil walking with 2 ladies, one under each arm, down the sidewalk past the playground. What's up, Betamax? Say hi to 8-Track for me, chum lord. Syphil gives him the finger, and he and the ladies start laughing as they walk. Cut to Des puts his head down and rubs the bridge of his nose. Madison puts a hand on his arm.
Sophocles says that the keenest sorrow is to recognize ourselves as the sole cause of all our adversities. Think about that before you start being a meanie to people, Des.
Des looks at her and nods slowly.
Ooh, hopscotch.
Madison jumps off the swing, laughing, and runs off to play with some other kids. Des takes another swig of the beer and another puff of the cigarette, then crosses his arms again. The background fades to black as Des fades to white. And suddenly, the silhouette of a large moth rams directly into Dez's side, knocking him back.
Ow! God damn it, Barry.
Sorry, man. I couldn't help it. I like you. Blackout. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Josh. Big fan of the show.
All right, knock it off. All right, so I have seen this sketch before.
Yes.
So I think you brought it in with when we did the Kevin Allison class together.
That is a distinct possibility. I know it started in 101, and then I tried using it everywhere.
Where did you get this idea?
I think that a precocious child is probably the funniest thing in the world.
Okay.
I have no real reason why.
I was going to say, are you around too many precocious children?
No, not at all.
Because they can be jerks.
I think that's generally more the rule than the exception. But I don't know why it's so funny to me to have a kid like just drop these little truth nuggets on people.
Right.
I had another sketch. It was later, so I didn't bring it for my first sketch. Where Bill Nye has a nervous breakdown on stage, and the child who's assisting him decides to take over the show with his thesis on plate tectonics.
Have I read that one?
I doubt it. But and if you did, it would be like 5 years ago, and it wasn't that funny.
Obviously, it was 5 years ago. But okay, so all right, so Sketch 101. Who are you taking Sketch 101 with?
Brian Kelly.
And what is this? Is this your character? Did you have those distinctions of character parody,
satire, all that
fish
stuff.
out of water?
Yeah, exactly. This is almost definitely the character thing.
Yeah.
I work in green energy, so I've always got stuff like this on the brain. So I was like, hey, I bet these light bulbs that people are using now would be absolute dicks. So.
Yeah, I'm sure they would be because we're Edison's guys, the incandescent lamp can be. All right, so let's go all the way back. Let's start at the beginning. What were you into growing up? What made you laugh?
The absolute first thing I remember is being like 4 years old, and my dad is losing his mind on Sunday mornings watching the Three Stooges.
Okay, Three Stooges.
Shortly after that, The Simpsons started coming on, and that kind of became my thing for a while.
Do you have a favorite episode?
Oh, God. This question to me is extremely stressful.
Oh my gosh! Just pick.
There's so
many. It doesn't have to be the actual. Just pick one.
Okay, shit. All right.
No one knows you're lying. You can just say whatever you want.
The one where Bart and Lisa join opposing hockey teams is amazing. The monorail episode is an absolute classic.
I just saw screenshots for that hockey one, for something. I haven't seen that actual episode in forever.
Yeah, when I'm watching an actual hockey game, I'll usually end up screaming "hack the bone" at some point.
Because I know I've seen that monorail one because the monorail has come up recently, so I rewatched that a couple weeks ago. I'd have to go back and do some FX nowing with that hockey one.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Okay, so what else are you like a teenager?
As a teenager,
evolution. Let's go through comedy evolution.
All right. When I started to sort of develop into an actual person, I had an uncle who was really into the young ones for some reason.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen any young ones.
It's extremely of its time.
I'm sure. Because that's the Rick Mayall.
Yeah.
Edmondson.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But for some reason, I don't know where he dug it up, because this was like probably 1994 or 95. So they were showing it somewhere.
I think it got syndicated somewhere
Yeah.
over here, either PBS or one of the like premium channels or something.
Yeah, but he would always just like shout lines from that at me and my little brother, and we would shout them back at him. And gradually I started like, hey, there's all these weird like sort of Odd Couple things going on. Maybe that's something that would be cool for me to get into.
I think it's on CISO now. I gotta check it out.
Yeah, it is. CISO is amazing. I'm way into it.
Okay.
Just because they have all the weird obscure stuff.
So, but that's like a sitcom. That's not necessarily a sketch thing.
I mean,
like
they're
playing the same four characters the whole time, right?
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah. But that sort of got me into, hey, wait, there's all this other. I'll get into English comedy for a little bit here.
Yeah.
So Monty Python came from that. I think I saw a couple of episodes of Blackadder, but I didn't get it, man. At that point in time, but that was also when they started having The Kids in the Hall and Saturday Night Live on Comedy Central in the afternoons.
So the Comedy Central reruns are apparently a looming large presence.
Yeah, that is
for all of us.
That's the gateway drug.
All right, so Saturday Night Live, Kids in the Hall. Do you have a favorite Saturday Night Live cast member?
Oh man, I
have listened to this podcast.
I came into this one prepared. I am gonna pick two names that are not necessarily my absolute favorites, because I get 0 bonus points for picking Phil Hartman. But
there's no bonus points for whatever you're gonna do.
Come on, man, we've got a fantasy league for this show.
It's the worst fantasy league ever.
Oh man. Every time somebody cringes at their own material drink. No, but the two names that, while they're not necessarily my absolute favorites, are the best at things that I can't do.
Okay.
Number one would be Norm Macdonald, because he does that one thing, but he does it so entirely and just commits so hard to just like being semi-funny.
His update is such a polarizing thing, I think. Like, people are either going to love it or hate it.
I absolutely love it.
And he was the first update that I really saw, so I really dug him. But then everyone forgets that in the election of 1996, he was Bob Dole. Like, he had that job. And, like, my favorite thing of Bob Dole is the Real World parody.
Yes.
Like, which you can't find online because I think there's a music rights issue, which is just awful and annoying. Yeah. But it was so funny to me. Like,
it was amazing.
All right, who was the other one?
The other person who is such a gifted physical comedian that I am stiff and wooden on stage, but the most gifted physical comedian was Chris Farley.
Yeah.
As far as I can, I cannot do that slapsticky pratfall stuff to save my life. And I'm not saying that's the only thing he was good at, but he is so good at that it makes me jealous.
We should have tried to make you fall more. Back in the Judo Range days, we should have just like...
You got me in my underwear once, but...
I was in my underwear almost every show. So calm down. Everyone has to take one for the team.
Fair.
All right. So where do you get the idea of performing and getting into doing it yourself?
I mean, I was in the drama club in school, starting middle school, going through high school.
Did you have a favorite role that you did in that time?
We did for my drama club show senior year. We got to do Monty Python's Dead Parrot sketch.
Okay.
Because the school would not let us do Kevin Smith's Flying Car sketch. Because at some point, it was something he wrote for one of the late night shows.
Right,
I forget which.
You say that, I'm like, it was that early?
Yeah, I graduated high school 2002. So,
for some reason, I thought Flying Car was much later than that.
No, that was probably 2001 because I had just gotten my license when I filmed it, and my dad wouldn't let me drive the hour and a half to Central Jersey to go film it. But anyway, yeah, they wouldn't let us because they were talking about diddling your peenie and that. Yeah. So the school put the
that's not a school thing.
So we put on fake British accents and did the Dead Parrot sketch.
How'd that go?
People seem to like it. I almost blew it by breaking, but went well. And then going into college, I did a couple of one-act plays. Actually, Sue Taney, who does Comedy Sports, was like the the assistant director for,
Okay.
for the one act that I did freshman year of college. So that was a weird kind of connection coming back to it. But, you know, I always had that kind of bug, and I was playing music, working in bands for a while. So being on stage was always kind of very interesting to me.
Where's your introduction to Philadelphia comedy? Like, how do you learn that comedy's a thing here in Philly?
I literally just Googled it.
All right.
I don't have an exotic story.
So that's another
hash
mark for Googling.
Exactly. Mountain View Code Red.
So what's the first thing you find?
The first thing that I found was one of the PHIT house, not the house team nights, but one of their show runs. It might have been a Guilty Pleasures night. Guilty Pleasures and TV Party used to be together.
Yeah.
And that might have been the first night I showed up. And at that point, I was like, this is unbelievably weird. I have to be a part of it.
And that was back, I mean, it was obviously Brennan Kennedy. Was that at Shubin?
Yeah, that was still at the Shubin.
All right, so we're in the Shubin era of PHIT.
Yeah.
What's your first step after that?
My first step after that is just kind of hanging around. You know, I started doing stand-up just for, you know, as a tourist, basically.
Like where are you doing?
There were a bunch of open mics that I would go to. Urban Saloon up in Fairmount was one that I would go to a lot. Excuse me, that Exchange open mic that
Is that the one
Chris
that McGrail and Dan
Vetrano used to run? Yeah. Where the bar got closed down the one night.
And they just did it on the side.
They never showed up to actually do the thing.
Yeah, McGrail was talking about he was telling me the story of how there's just mail piling up.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, we'll just do it over here.
Yeah, this is probably a bad sign. Hey, here's this weird park where, like, some homeless dude is going to push his shopping cart across somebody's set.
Yeah.
Weirdest heckler ever.
Was your first, do you do any of the improv classes?
I did not do literally the only time I've done an improv class was when Kevin McDonald came to do that improv to sketch workshop.
Okay, that's a little bit later on.
Yeah.
All right, so Sketch 101, Brian Kelly.
Yes.
Was there anyone else in that class that is still doing things, had done things?
Who was in that? I want to say, I know I worked with Brianna Kelly on something for that class.
That would have been the Kevin Allison class.
Okay. I don't, dude.
All right.
I'm so high right now.
All right.
I can't even.
No, you're not.
I am not.
You're an elected official, or trying to be. Knock that stuff off. All right, so Sketch 101, we meet doing Kevin Allison's master class. He comes down from New York. It was an 8-week class leading up to a show.
Yes.
Do you remember what your sketch was in the final show?
It was. I don't recall the name of it, but it was like kids running around a neighborhood pretending to be cops, but like actually.
I thought it was one.
Or not. It was actual cops, but behaving like they were just having like a big game of tag or something.
What are your memories of that experience? We've talked about the class with other people before. Matt J was in it. Brianna Kelly, Aubrey Williams.
Yeah. Carl Bacuti was in it.
Mark Dames, Pat Shostak, Drew Devienko. There's like 11 people in this class.
Yeah.
And basically we were all assigned Alicia Sawyer. We were all basically one sketch from everyone would get into the final show.
Yes.
Okay. What's your memory of how that night went?
That night, I remember blowing one of my lines at the very end of the sketch that I wrote, which still sticks in my craw. But overall, it was just kind of a little bit more laissez-faire than I thought it was going to be, where he was trying to give as much control to us as possible, which may or may not have been a good thing.
Yeah, because a lot of us hadn't ever really done much together, so we were all trying and failing, or trying and succeeding.
Exactly, and I get why you would want people to just kind of make their own mistakes.
Because that was my first organized show, like the first time I ever did any organized comedy. Were you one of the Milk Boy?
Was I?
Did you drench yourself in milk?
No, I don't recall pouring milk over myself.
Okay.
I feel like I would remember that. My memory's not the best, but I feel like that
because
would be.
that show culminates in a sketch where two people are just pouring milk on top of themselves as I run off stage with a baby doll. to be as weird as
I'm
possible.
almost sure one of them was Brianna Kelly, but
I think so. I think it was Brianna.
The other? I don't know.
It was Drew's sketch for sure.
Okay. He better take the bullet if it's his sketch.
Yeah. Okay, so we do, out of that class comes Judo Range, at least the incarnation that we were part of.
Yeah, the original.
I believe Matt J sends out an email to a bunch of people, and the people that showed up hung out. And all right, so Judo Range. Let's talk about Judo Range.
Oh boy.
All right, so all right. So you want to do comedy? You get an invite to do this group, and we start working together. And I think we're pretty prolific. I think we did, in the brief amount of time that we were together, I feel like we did a lot of shows and stuff.
Yeah, it was like I think we averaged like one a month or something.
At least,
like that, yeah.
like, you know, even if we're not counting like theme shows and sketch ups and stuff. So, all right, Judo Range for you. How'd it go? How'd you?
And I don't mean to date us here, but you know, I don't know when this is going up, but we're recording like the week after the show with Matt J came out.
Yeah.
And what he said was exactly right in that we were all basically like baby people still.
Yeah.
You know, it was my first experience working with a group for, you know, any sort of like writing purposes. And I think everybody kind of wanted to steer things a little bit their direction, and none of us really had the mechanism to kind of discuss that in a real way.
Right.
So everybody just kind of, you know, the resentment kind of boiled over in some pretty unhealthy ways.
Yeah, I can probably say that. I don't think I was ever like resentful of people's material getting on. There were other things I resented.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying the material. Pretty much all of the material that we ever put out, I am still a big fan of. Like,
like I know, like there were more issues with us gathering.
Yes.
Like I was always annoyed when people were late, or like, and late's gonna happen, or
yeah, especially when you're dealing with that many people who have that many different things going on.
You know, coming from real jobs to hang like
exactly
to meet up in a place in South Street that has no electricity.
Oh my God, that friggin'
for like a month.
I had forgotten that place existed. I had done such a good job of kind of just like cramming it down into my psyche.
Completely blocked it out.
But yeah, there was like one rack of vintage clothes, a couple bins of vinyl records.
Yeah, it was the
and
least
like
prepared,
a table in the back.
Least prepared consignment shop ever.
Oh my God.
But Judo Range doesn't last very long. We did 9 months, a ton of shows. We did weird things.
Yes. Yes. Definitely that.
There was a gorilla suit at one point. There
Yes.
was.
My wife made me sell that gorilla suit.
I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you about it because there's a sketch that a friend of mine has that has a gorilla portion. I was just like,
nice.
Oh man, if DiEva has the gorilla suit,
No.
it's gonna be so much easier for me.
That was hanging in my closet for the longest friggin' time, and it just like every time my wife would go into the closet, it would scare her. So she was like, "You need to get rid of this.
Put it in another closet."
One of her. It was the only one in the apartment we had at the time. But one of her coworkers wanted to do like Donkey Kong for Halloween, so I was just like, "Yeah, give me like $30."
That's probably a decent deal then.
Yeah.
There was a sketch that you had that we actually shot, and I don't know if it ever got into shows or if it's online. And like, I know I have it because I'm the one that edited it. Wild America.
Oh boy.
I believe you called it.
I think we did that at the American Breakfast Judo Range show.
It's very.
I'm pretty sure that was
okay.
the only time that ever showed.
So you had written this video piece of two. It's a nature documentary, which I'll put online. If I can't find it online, it's going up.
If you have to,
I'm going to. Where it's a nature documentary, you know, a Richard Attenborough kind of thing of two guys with beards, and they tussle beards as if they're ram's horns.
like locking antlers. Yeah.
I believe you drink water from one of the fountains in Warehouse Park.
Not something I'd recommend.
At least, you know, aping it. So, all right, what's that idea? Where does that come from? Like, bearded guys.
I just like the idea of absurdity intrigues me just as a general concept.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of taking something that taking something like that and just making it, what's the weirdest thing I could possibly do, with the resources that we have.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, hey, I bet dudes ramming each other's chins into one another in the middle of a public space is going to be,
trying to get shots without other people in the background to make sure that they're clean. And
yeah, exactly.
All right, so Judo Range ends.
Yes, which I still kind of feel guilty about.
Why do you feel guilty?
Because, and this is almost definitely a me thing, but like right towards the end, my girlfriend at the time, my wife currently, spent a month in the hospital.
Right.
And after that, my priorities changed like super fast.
I don't think you have anywhere to be blamed.
I mean,
within, like, I remember that being an issue. I remember that you.
And I think we might have had to like cancel a show because of it or something like that.
I don't know.
Because I was like completely unavailable.
Because, all right, like, this is how I remember the end of Judo Range. Matt J disappears.
Yes.
And he's talked about it, and he wasn't, a solid person at that point.
I mean, none of us were, and we all I forgive him anyway.
Well, that's where I was like, that's why I asked him. I was like, did we fire you, or did we just stop talking to you? Like, and I couldn't remember.
I think it was like every relationship I had until I was like 28, where it's just like, I'm not gonna call you anymore.
Just ignore it. And then we do Pro Mania happens, and all the fallout for that.
Oh boy.
Chris and McGraw and Coletta decide that they're gonna split off.
Yeah.
And then there's not much else that you, me, Ian, and Devont can do. Like,
yeah, I think I might have tried doing something for like 20 minutes with Ian and Devont, but at that point I just kind of completely fell off the map.
Because like Judo Range, I wasn't even there for the last show, which I don't think we ever advertised as the last show, but I think we all knew.
I'm not sure it had officially been said, but like we all kind of knew.
We had gotten into Philly Sketch Fest, which was in November of that year, and I had already planned a vacation. So I was like, I'm not going to be there, so enjoy, like, have fun, guys.
Yeah, and I think that was where I think that it was in the back of all of our minds. Like, it hadn't been officially stated this is our last show, but like, when we were planning that, we were like, okay, what's the stuff that has gotten the best reaction in the past?
And I think
let's try some super weird stuff. Like, I think Devont just kind of made me breakfast the entire time that I ate during the curtain call.
Because I know you guys had done Retweet, which was one of my things. I
don't know if I remember that. I'm sorry.
Retweet's the one where I'm sick, and it's you and me. We did it.
Yeah,
every time we did it. So I'm sick in bed.
Oh God, I'm mortified right now, looking you in the eye.
It's 5 years ago. It's fine. All right. I'm sick in bed. You're supposed to go get my medicine, but you're super excited that a celebrity retweeted you.
Yes. Oh God.
Alfonso Ribeiro. I think we settled on Alfonso Ribeiro.
Yeah, so we needed somebody just like kind of medium famous.
Right. Just famous enough where he might do this.
Yes.
And I think that last show, I think Ian took my spot.
That sounds right.
Or, however it went. Okay, so what's making you laugh now, since you're kind of out of it? I'm trying to drag you back in, but you haven't done anything in a while. So what are you watching? At
this point, I'm taking a deep dive into a lot of the English stuff that I missed out on the first lap around. Way more Fry and Laurie. I'm finally watching Peep Show, which I've completely skipped before. And I'm going back. There's a lot of, pretty much anything involving somebody with the last name McElroy is making me laugh like a crazy person at this point.
Oh,
My Brother and Me guys.
Yeah, right.
They had a show on CISO. They do like a Dungeons and Dragons podcast. That's like my favorite thing right now. And I'll still go back every now and then and just like make sure that The Kids in the Hall is the funniest thing that I've ever seen, and it definitely still is.
What's a Kids in the Hall sketch that jumps out for you?
Oh my God, one of the one where it's Bruce giving fatherly advice to his son, takes him out to the rock in the middle of the field and gets pathetically drunk, and just starts yelling, like, broke my hand on a pineapple, didn't even care, and just like.
Doesn't sound familiar to me.
It's amazing.
Is it an actual kid or is it?
Yeah, it's like a 12-year-old kid.
It's not Bruce dressed up.
No, the premise is that it's his son. It's Bruce's son's 13th birthday, so it's the day he becomes a man. So he gets to go out to the rock in the middle of the field and watch his father get pathetically drunk.
Okay. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, highly recommended.
All right. It's so. What are you doing now without doing comedy? Like,
oh man.
I mean, you mentioned you got married.
Yeah.
You work in green energy. You're middle management.
Literally, I moved to the suburbs, got married.
You got boring, you told me.
Yeah, grew a beard to cover my puffy, compromising face.
You always had a beard.
And I was always kind of fat, too.
Yeah, so you can't blame those two.
Yeah. No, just like, that's kind of what I'm focusing my time on is...
real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Real responsibilities.
Yeah, try to save the world as much as I can at work. Try to, maintain healthy relationships with the people that I love and trying to, make the world a very slightly better place than it was when I woke up that day, which is a really fucking uphill climb right now.
And I'm just hosting a podcast, so that's my contribution.
You're bringing joy to the people.
I'm not. All right.
I enjoy it.
I ask everybody, and it's been a while, and you haven't been on stage in a bit, and you haven't done anything for a bit. Why'd you do it?
I think originally it was some sort of attention-seeking behavior, which,
But you had meant, had drama in high school and everything.
Yeah,
so,
and
has it always been?
For me, when I would get up on stage and I wasn't Mike, that was way more comfortable for me than just going about my daily business as Mike. So, we're not prepared to go into the deep psychological things here. I'm not
a therapist, but we can do whatever you want. We can.
Let me lie back on this couch.
You can bring up however this goes.
No, but,
go for it.
It was very much like, the escapism and the, kind of get to be somebody else for a little bit is what got me into performing at the beginning. As far as comedy specifically, it was just, I've always enjoyed it. It's, a way that I can get that immediate feedback from people. So, I may as well give it a shot.
Yeah. Because, when you're performing drama, when you're performing a drama, there isn't that energy that laughter conveys.
Exactly.
That's an immediate wave. You must have to wait till the end of the show to know that you're doing well versus, maybe that's the case. I've never done drama, so I could be completely wrong.
The only immediate feedback you can get is if you get a gasp in the middle of the show, because you're not gonna see people's faces with the lights up there. So,
you had mentioned doing stand up, or at least trying to do stand up. Do you remember any of the stand up jokes that you?
I did exactly 2 booked shows in my life. Alejandro Morales put me on a show at that place Taboo that he was running for a little while. And then Carolyn Busa booked me at a show over in New Jersey at one point. Literally the only 2 times that I ever got, it wasn't just show up and put your name on the list.
Was there, the difference between writing jokes and writing writing stand up and writing sketch, was there a difference for you?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, talk about that a little bit. What's, did you have a joke pile versus a sketch idea pile? It was almost
to a point. It kind of became obvious. This is not going to work as this is good as 3 sentences, but as far as filling up 4 pages of a script, this is never going to be able to be drawn out like that.
I would say it doesn't need to be 4 pages. But.
Yeah, I came to the blackout sketch late in life.
Yeah. So did I.
But, they were kind of almost more compartmentalized time-wise for me.
Okay.
I was doing stand-up because I was, waiting for people to come along that I could work with.
Right.
And then once I started getting involved in taking the sketch classes, the stand-up almost fell completely by the wayside.
Okay.
So, it was a little more compartmentalized than that. But there were some ideas that you would have, that I would have when I was writing stand-up, where it was this is never going to work as a short thing. I need to set this aside for, being its own sort of living, breathing thing. Wow, that sounds pretentious as fuck.
But that's the truth.
Yeah, I guess.
Doing this is a little pretentious at times.
Yeah.
And again, it's been a bit. So what is something that you could pass on? What's a bit of information? What's something that you've learned from comedy, either existential life lesson or just a practical bit of?
I think that actually, as someone who tried it and then stopped, I think I've actually got a little bit better of a perspective on this than
People that are still
somebody
in the
who's right in
weeds.
the middle of it. Not to minimize them or anything like that, but it really shows me that if you're going to do this, and whether it's a hobby or whether you're trying to make it a career, it is a significant time commitment.
Yeah.
You need to be willing to put in the time. You need to be willing to do your reps and just write garbage. There's going to be a lot of garbage. You can edit garbage though, and just put in the time and show up to shows and get on stage. There came a point where I was no longer able to do that, which is why I ended up falling out of it.
Yeah.
But that I think is by far the most important thing. It doesn't necessarily matter how good of a performer you are, how good of a writer you are. I mean, it does to an extent, but the single most important thing is just getting practice and getting on stage. And, at the end of the day, I was less able to do that than I needed to be.
Yeah, real life took over.
Yeah.
All right. Did I miss anything?
I don't think so.
All right. Thanks,
right.
Mike.
Thank you, Josh.
Okay, so Mike is pretty much out of the comedy scene, but if you want to check out the Wild America sketch that we talked about, I've uploaded it on the My First Sketch YouTube page and embedded it at myfirstsketch.com. And there are a few other of the Judo Range's videos up at youtube.com/Judo Range Comedy. I checked, it's still active. They're still there. If you want to hang out with me and see some fun comedy, I'll definitely be heading to the Secret Pants show, which is titled Unrehearsed at PHIT Comedy, this Friday at 10:30. But if you can't go on Friday, you can go on Saturday at 10:30. Tickets available at phitcomedy.com. And don't forget, My First Sketch live at Philly Podfest on July 23rd at PHIT's second stage, 4:30 p.m. with very special guests, the incredible Shrinking Matt and Jacquie. Tickets are available at myfirstsketch.com/July23. My First Sketch is a Philly Sketchfest production. You can find out more information at phillysketchfest.com or on Twitter at PHLSketchfest. Also, for more information about comedy in Philly, head to watercooler.com. The music on this episode is by the band No No, which you can check out at nonoband.bandcamp.com. And you can like My First Sketch on Facebook. This is Josh Iam. Thanks for listening. Go see some comedy.